Good afternoon, Colorado. Good afternoon, people listening outside of Colorado. My name is Josh. I am the president here at K4CO Radio, sitting down with our vice president, Sarah. How's it going, Sarah?
Hi, it's good. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Exactly. Our first interview after the New Year.
It is. I know.
Gotta love it. 2026.
I know it. Ready or not, the year of the horse.
Is this the year of the horse?
It is the year of the horse. I don't know if that means we need to go horseback riding or if we're charging ahead. Ooh, I'm making this up on the fly. I like it. Charging ahead. That maybe should be our whole horse 2026.
Or just eat a lot of peanut butter because that's how they got Mr. Ed to talk. So
sounds great.
I don't know if you knew that.
I will eat a lot of peanut butter.
Sounds good.
Good.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have a wonderful interview to start out 2026. If you are listening in the car, pay no attention to this next thing, but you can switch over to our social media platforms if you are not in the car. We, of course, just want you to listen in the car and let that person in front of you who just put on their blinker, just slow down a little bit, let them in front of you. But if you can, head on over to the K4CO Radio social media platforms. We're on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all the fun stuff. And do know that this interview is going to be on our platforms for at least a month. So definitely check it out. Sarah, who do we have in the K4CO studio today?
I'm pretty excited. I love what this woman does. I mean, I love, and her last name is Miracle, and she does provide miracles. Which is pretty cool. And for those, again, that are on our social media, this is a great interview to ask questions because we're going to be talking about brain assessment, learning, and I know it's a lot of new year, new you type of thing. And so this, I highly recommend you get involved on social media and ask questions and comments and definitely interact.
That is true. If you are on the app, you can message the station. And if you do put a comment on social media, our producer, Jacob, can alert us to that if it's something that we can ask.
Yes. So. Well, we have the amazing owner of LearningRx, located in Highlands Ranch. It is Kathi Miracle, and she has brought in another incredible guest, Lindsay Cassell, who's a former client. Hello, ladies.
Hello. Thank you for having us.
Of course. It's great to have you in again.
Yes.
You're always so cheery and positive. It makes me so happy.
It's because I'm constantly working the brain, and those endorphins, are just moving around.
So true.
So like thinking well and good cognition creates happiness?
It actually does.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, no joke, it actually does.
I know.
Yes. I know those that on social media can already see this on the ticker tape. So just in case you are listening on the app and you're driving very safely and cautiously. Extremely. So they are located in Highlands Ranch. The address is 9090 Ridgeline Boulevard, number 206 in Highlands Ranch. And you can go online as well, learningrx.com/Highlands-Ranch. And their phone number is 303-955-2959. And again, you can find their information on K4CORadio.com as well, under partners, so you can easily access them. She's great for everyone who's learning to expand their minds in very wonderful ways.
That's right.
Kathi, why don't we start a little bit? I know you've been on before, but for those that are jumping on for the first time, tell us a little bit about LearningRx.
LearningRx is a one-on-one brain training program. It is actually the largest one-on-one brain training program in the world. We are located in 45 countries, and it is headquartered in Colorado Springs. So it is a franchise. I happen to be the owner of the location in Highlands Ranch. We are the only LearningRx in the Denver metro area, actually. And it's what we do is we identify the strengths and weaknesses of the brain. And we know that anyone who has a cognitive skill under the 50th percentile, that they're going to struggle. They're going to struggle in school, they're going to struggle at work, they're going to struggle in life. So we target weaker skills and we create and customize a program for that individual. And we go in and we do intense repetitive exercises to strengthen those cognitive skills so that learning is easier, thinking is faster, and memory is better.
And what really attracted me to it is it's not just school. It's not just studies or anything. This is like something, last time you said your oldest student was how old?
So my personal oldest student was 82.
82.
But LearningRx, I think it was the franchise in Louisiana, their oldest student was 103.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. I want everyone's ears to kind of perk up here because I hear brain function, especially, I'm going to put women on the spot here. We go through our hormonal changes, right? And we go through a lot of them in our life.
We definitely don't.
You guys hit it younger and then you're done.
That's right.
We get gypped is the moral of the story. But like a lot of times as we're aging through our 30s, 40s, we're going through changes, right? Mm-hmm. So, and I'm going through that as we speak, and your cognitive skills are changing all the time. So, and I know a lot of people that have played sports, brain injuries, if you're senior citizen, for those that we have dementia patients and kiddos that are going in school. What I also love, and we can delve a little bit more into this, is every single person learns differently.
Correct.
And my kiddo is here in the background, and he's in a group of his class, and he learns differently than the rest of his classmates, of course. Yeah. So if you're wanting your loved one, no matter the age, which I really love, if you think like they learn a little bit differently, or we're having a problem in some form or some area that we can't quite figure out, this is a huge, wonderful gift that you can give yourself or a loved one. Just say, go through this assessment and figure out what's been going on.
Yep, exactly.
So, how did you two originally connect?
We are in a networking group together.
Okay.
BNI, which stands for Business Network International. And I met Lindsay, almost 2 years ago, about 2 years ago. And I did a presentation. And right after the presentation about LearningRx, she came up and said, I really think I want to do this. And you can share your reason why to everyone. But she was very interested in keeping cognitive skills strong.
Yeah, exactly. I did it more for proactive reasons. It wasn't like Maddie that was here last month for concussions and things like that. It was more, my family has lots of dementia, the women in our family. So for me, I just felt like, why not? She was running a special on the assessment. I got one for my mother for Mother's Day. Nice. And then my son also took it as well, because we kind of wanted to see what all of us scored and how we were similar and not. We all scored one on auditory processing, which was very eye-opening, but at the same time, you're like, oh, that's why. Those, the conversations between Maddie and I, sometimes I'm like, she's always like, what, and it's so irritating. This has helped tremendously, so.
I think that's the comment I made when we looked at both yours and Maddie's. Like,
she was the one as well, so
I go,
both
do you
of
guys
us.
sit at home going, what?
Yes.
Yeah, we actually do.
And it's definitely changed, so like I said, it was more proactive, wanted to just see what it would do. They recommended a 6-month training with Cassidy, who was amazing as well. And Maddie and I did a hybrid. So we had Cassidy, we went into the lab once a week, and then her and I trained one another at home. So we, for one, save a little cost, but we kept each other. I mean, we were doing it 5 days a week at that point, but it was fun. It's actually fun. We still do play a lot of the games that we learned just to keep it going. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So proactively, I mean, this was more of a discovery for you. You just really wanted to know where you sat.
Yeah.
And the very first thing that everybody would do is the assessment.
The brain correct. The brain scale assessment is the first step. For Lindsay, when we get to know each client that comes in and why they're there, right? Whether it's a parent worried about their child struggling in school, someone who's had a traumatic brain injury. Our discussion with Lindsay was she was very concerned because of dementia running in the family. And while dementia can be genetic, it doesn't mean it is always. And so what we educated her a little bit on when we got her assessment is if somebody has low scores in auditory processing and auditory memory and working memory, which is short-term memory, it puts them at a higher risk for developing dementia. If they also have low scores in logic and reasoning, processing speed, and attention, they've compounded their risk of developing dementia. If they have a family history of it, well, you've compounded your risk again. And so this is a way of being proactive so that we can strengthen those important cognitive skills to help somebody stay cognitively strong as they age.
Okay. I do love that. I didn't even think about the proactive piece. I mean, there's so many of us that are in this sandwich generation. I love using that. We have some parents that are getting on the older side, and a lot of us are raising kiddos too, that we see what's happening, and it's so prevalent. And if we did something like this, when our cognitive skills were still sort of functioning. I'm using myself as an example.
Exactly.
That maybe, yeah, I'm so impressed that you were like, this is already going on in future and my other generations. And so to be proactive, as you said, that's amazing.
And Maddie was doing it anyway, so I'm like, well, we'll do it together. I might as well. And once we saw the scores, I was like, oh yeah, I should probably do this.
That is incredible. So, and all three of you scored 1 on the auditory
processing.
Okay. Is that common to have?
Genetically, it can be.
Okay.
It's almost harder when you are working with a parent and you're telling them the child has these challenges in cognitive skills, and you can almost see it in one or both parents too.
Yeah.
And you kind of want to go, this might be a good program for you too. But you definitely, there is a genetic factor to it. I mean, when you look into people who've had traumatic brain injuries, concussions, strokes, those are outside factors that are coming in and damaging the brain. So genetics don't necessarily play into that.
Sure.
But typically we see if one person in the family is having a challenge, it's not uncommon to see that same challenge exists in other family members.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, Lindsay, walk us through kind of the beginning, because you said you were working on it. You did a hybrid, but you're working on it 5 days a week.
Yeah.
What was kind of the first week like? When did you start noticing changes?
I would say a couple weeks in. The first week, it was wild. The assessment's wild. You kind of feel like you're in grade school and you should know this stuff. But honestly, the way it's taught this way is the right way, honestly, because you're getting the sounds which was the hardest part for me, honestly. But math, I thought I was a whiz, and I kind of was. I was a good one. It kept me in so whenever we would do it in BNI, I did it.
Amazing.
And like learning the presidents forward and backwards and just things all off of caricatures, and it's just wild, right? And so I feel it was like more elementary at first, so you're kind of like, what am I doing? And then by like week 3, 4 and getting into it, it was like the productivity I could see at work and just the communication I was having with other relationships or in BNI or, just I saw a big difference. And then we got real and raw with it. And yeah, my scores were 99 plus.
Wow.
Not auditory processing by the time I was done. I'm like, wow.
It went from 1 to 99. Oh my gosh.
Her auditory processing did. Yeah.
And it's life-changing, honestly.
I'm a little, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty wild.
I'll pull up her results here in a minute.
Results were pretty wild.
She
we took it serious, though.
Well, they did. I mean, you do. I mean, it's no different than if you're going to go into the gym. This is the time of year everybody has the New Year's resolutions, and the gyms are crazy. Right? I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to get in shape. I mean, those are really common. But if you're working with a personal trainer, they're not going to say, sure, come 5 days 1 week, 1 day the next, skip a week, come 2 days, and then 3. Yeah. They're going to tell you, you have to do this consistently in order to get the results you want. So we have that same conversation with individuals, whether it's adults or parents with children, that you've got to commit to this consistently. This is not something you can start and stop. You're not going to get the results you want. It's something that you really, so I've told some families, you got to put gymnastics on the shelf for 3 months or for 6 months, or, you have to, give up Saturday morning cartoons, to come in. I mean, there's some things we'll work around a lot of schedules. But it's like, you've got to do this consistently. If you're not, and it's not that life doesn't happen. It does. I mean, right now we're looking at, I met with a family today who I'm like, well, if you guys are going to go somewhere for spring break, by all means, go somewhere for spring break. Just, we know that ahead of time. We're going to do 4 sessions the week before you leave. You're gone. We do 4 sessions the week you get back, and maybe another 4 sessions. And so we get them caught back up.
Right.
And, or if somebody gets sick, I mean, we have to work around life, but you can't start and stop this program and still expect the same results. It's not going to happen.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great. The Saturday morning cartoons, that's where it's going to hurt me.
It's going to hurt you.
Yeah, exactly.
He's actually being serious.
I believe that.
Lindsay, when you say, I want to go back, you said it kind of seemed elementary, seemed like I should know this type of stuff. Were you referring, is that like the assessment or week 1, week 2?
Just kind of all of it.
Just all of it.
Because it's the vowels and you've got arrows pointing this way and you're up, down, up, but it's green, blue, and...
There's yours if you want to
Oh, wow.
talk about it.
Is this your
That's her, those were her before and after results.
That's wow.
Okay.
Logic and reasoning was at 9, went up to a 46.
Is this out of 100? How is this scored?
0 to
100.
Okay.
Auditory processing, it was 99 and above. So
from 1 to 99.
It's wild.
And Kathy, how often is there,
That's so cool.
More assessments just to see the progress, just to see the tracking?
So when someone chooses to commit to the program, we will do the same assessment at the end.
Okay.
And so we can compare their scores before the program to their scores after the program, which is what Lindsay was looking at. And Lindsay actually graduated from the program a year ago. And so this week was my conversation with her to come back in and do a 1-year graduation assessment, because what we want to demonstrate is their cognitive skills have stayed just as strong, if not stronger, even a year later. And so we'll be scheduling a 1-year follow-up with her in the next week or so to just show her this is where you've maintained your strength.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And you said you're still practicing some of the same skills that you were a year ago.
Yep.
What are some of those skills you still practice on either daily, weekly basis?
We like to play the card game. You just flip cards basically, and then when you get the jack, you pull.
So it's war with the jack.
In
Instead
a sense,
of smacking people, you pull it. Okay.
Yeah. And then there's this. What is it? Not marbles, but I can't think of the
Logic links?
Yeah, logic links. So we do that quite often. And then like in the car, we'll play the alphabet game with our niece and have to remember each thing from A to Z, and we can do it, the whole thing, things like that. And then in work every day, obviously. I mean, busy as all get out. So
very nice.
You
said it's helped you with work, and you started noticing after a couple weeks. So for those that are listening, going, okay, what is the pattern? Like after 3 weeks, were you more organized? Was your brain thinking more congruently? What items were you?
I think because I was actually hearing it, retaining it, understanding it all, and it was just all formulating finally. So from there, then it allowed me to be more organized, run efficiently, effectively, with the new team members that I have. And
I find this so fascinating. I love the brain. I love how just the body works, just how synapses are firing and how can we retain. I mean, my kiddo, his retention is amazing. He will remember
for certain things.
Oh yeah, he remembers every football game that was played and the score, who was playing where. But I'm like, "What'd you eat for breakfast this morning?" And it's I don't know how you
exactly.
It's so interesting to me how a brain works and what we retain.
Yep.
And how when our bucket actually gets full, I thought about this last time when Maddie was here. It's like sometimes mine's at 10 minutes. I'm like, nope, it's all spilling out. I don't know what else is going on. So it's amazing that this can translate in so many different ways into relationships and into work.
And going back to the assessment, I mean, there's a lot of different areas that you evaluate. I mean, it's not just a memory or an auditory thing. I mean, what are the different skill sets or things that you measure in the assessment?
So we look at auditory processing and auditory memory. We look at visual processing and visual memory. We also look at working memory, which is also referred to as short-term memory. We look at logic and reasoning, processing speed, and attention. I wish the assessment would break this out, because there's actually 4 types of attention, but we focus on 3 of those, which is sustained attention, divided attention, and selective attention. So the assessment doesn't break those out, but when we're actually doing the training, we can let students understand, like, this one exercise is going to work on these 7 cognitive skills. And then we list the cognitive skills and how would you use these in school, or how would you use these in work. So we tried really hard to help them understand, by strengthening these, this is where it's going to help you. And then we also, there's an area, it's called word attack, but it's really how individuals look at letters and how they pronounce them and how they blend them together and pronounce where it's nonsensical words. But the comprehension is in there too. So we look at all of that, and for kids who might struggle in school, it gives us a real clear indication. Again, a recent person that I had done a brain skill assessment on, as I was watching them do the assessment, they were skipping lines. Like they weren't going in a pattern. So when I was talking to parents, I said, if they're doing this in an exercise, which, they're not going to get a grade on this, but what are they doing in school? Like, are they skipping lines when they're trying to read? Hence, then they're not really comprehending the full story because they're not getting the full information. So I start kind of saying this is where concerns can happen, because so many times people, and I was one of those parents who paid for tutoring for 3 years, and I'm not bashing tutoring. There's a time and place for it, and it's a great program and for people who really need it. Where we kind of educate people is that if a cognitive skill isn't working, you can pay for all the tutoring in the world, and your brain is still not absorbing the information. It's not processing it. It's not following through on it. Exactly. And so you're really spending money in an area that you should. And I paid for tutoring for 3 years, and my daughter maybe got better on a test or maybe did better on a project. But overall, she still struggled, and we just couldn't figure out why.
Exactly.
Once we got LearningRx, we understood the why then behind it. So where I would say to people is when they talk to me about neurofeedback and us and tutoring, like, what seems to make the most sense? I'm like, all of them. You know, it just really depends on where your student is, because neurofeedback can really help somebody pay attention. If somebody's attention is all over the place, neurofeedback can really calm the brain down to help somebody pay attention, for us to come in and do what we do best. Or somebody who's had a traumatic brain injury, neurofeedback can really help the inflammation in the brain calm down, because we can't step in until that happens. We come in, and neurofeedback has laid the foundation for us. We come in and build upon that, and tutoring comes in and puts the icing on the cake. So all three components are really super important. And when people say, well, what comes first, the chicken and the egg? And I'm like, well, it really depends on your situation to which way we advise. But I work very closely with neurofeedback and tutoring, because all of it is important to get to the end goal of what somebody wants to do.
Right. No, you brought up several good points, that it is really, you have to get to the core of the problem. I love that you said the why, because we all start in the same spot and go that way, and have all these different environmental feedbacks and genes and hereditary everything. Life just throws at you. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a gushing wound is what I was going to say. But it kind of is. It's like, well, you have to address the actual problem. Do you actually need surgery, to your point?
It's just a flesh wound.
Just a flesh wound. Have you ever found or been in a situation where someone has come to you that's been on medication? Like, I'm immediately thinking of ADD and ADHD. I was diagnosed as that. I've heard it with my kiddo. Have you ever had someone come in that's been on medication, gone through your program, and then not needed it afterwards?
Yeah, that has happened. We at LearningRx, we're never going to advise somebody to go off their medication.
Right.
We tell them,
course.
We want you to go talk to your doctor and make that decision along with your parent or your significant other or whomever. But yes, there have been students who have gone through the program who maybe seizures have stopped. Maybe they've gone off medication. I worked with a woman who had 2 strokes back to back and was in a nursing home, and she would talk in one-word answers or point, and within 3 months of working with LearningRx, she was talking in full sentences. And so every brain is slightly different. I've had people, I tell people, we have a student who's 72 years old who went through our program because of chemotherapy, and he didn't like how his brain was feeling. He's just foggy, and he didn't like it. His skills were still stronger than the 17-year-old who came in. So age doesn't really have a lot to do with cognitive skills. We also tell people that how you learn has nothing to do with how brilliant you are. So you can still have a very high IQ and struggle because cognitive skills aren't working the way they need to. And that gets to be really super confusing for people, is how come I'm so smart, but I'm struggling, and they don't understand that. So again, we get to the root of the problem, and we can help explain the why behind maybe why there's a challenge or the frustration behind what it is. And when families see that, all of a sudden it's like, that makes sense.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah. We all don't learn the same way. Yeah.
I'm curious, like, of course, 2 questions, actually. One, students is a big thing here. One, what is kind of like the youngest that you can test? Because I'm sure this assessment, there's a age limit where they're not developed enough yet.
Yeah. My youngest student that I've assessed is 6 years old. And we know that a 6-year-old is not going to get through the assessment at the same speed or the same level or the same answers as someone who's 50. Right? They're just not. So if I think it's 16 and younger, it will compare them to their age group, though. So the student I most recently assessed at 6 years old, And when we were looking through the results, while cognitive skills look really low from a dot graph, when I compare them to their age group, I'm like, they're only a year behind. They're functioning at a 5-year-old, not a 6-year-old. So while this looks like a bigger gap, it really isn't. And these are the things we can do to strengthen that, so that by the time they're done, they're functioning. We want them to function at a 7-year-old or an 8-year-old by the time they walk out of here, because now life is easier. School is easier. Life is easier. Yeah. They don't hate it. There's no missing assignments. It's easier for families, right? Mm-hmm. And so I believe the youngest student, LearningRx, has assessed, again, our center in Shreveport, Louisiana, not mine, but a very amazing center owner. 3 years old was her youngest. Wow. But she also has a PhD in education, and she's really focused, hyper-focused, and so she understands the brain at a very young age. I'm not sure I would attempt a 3-year-old. That to me, I'm not sure I would. But so it really kind of depends. But I tell people, at least for me at Highlands Ranch, I'd like them to be at least by 5 years old.
Gotcha.
Because I want them to be focused. I want them to be at their best. If it was somebody who came in and they really, like I had a parent come in where the child was 6 years old, but had sustained 2 head injuries already when they were an infant. And I was like, oh, wow. So if I have a situation, I'm lucky enough to have such great relationship with the franchise owners around the United States, that I could reach out and say, advise me, guide me, what would you do? And there's such an incredibly group of caring individuals that they just jump in as soon as they know someone has a question or they need help, or let me send you this, or let me provide this guidance. And so I definitely have a huge resource that I could tap into.
Right. And going on, you said kind of life can get easier after this, especially the processing, and it's not just for students and kids. I mean, Lindsay, you went through all of this. Can you think of some specific ways where your life did get easier after this whole process?
Yeah. My relationship, for one, with Maddie is thriving. Not that it wasn't before, but again, the communication, there's better focus, the productivity. We just redid our whole house, things which can get a little tricky, especially both being contractors. I feel like, too, my memory's a lot stronger, and because that short term, man, it's real. So yeah. I feel like I remember what I ate for breakfast, which is huge. Why did I come in this room? That happened a lot before this. Why am I here? Yeah. Where's my sunglasses? That stuff. I don't see that happening as much anymore. And again, it's made me a much better business owner as well, which in the last year, I had our best year in a very drought year. So for that, I feel like I do owe a lot of it to LearningRx, just because it did change my life and change my thinking and give me a stronger, foundation as far as my brain to take it all in and just realize what I had too in front of me, because I don't know that I really saw all that either. So,
this is amazing.
Very eye-opening.
It is. It's something that everybody can benefit from, at least doing the assessment to see how their processing is working. And everybody listening on K4CO Radio, we are speaking with Kathi Miracle, owner of LearningRx in Highlands Ranch, and Lindsay Cassell, who's a former client. They are at learningrx.com/Highlands-Ranch. Give them a call, 303-955-2959. Kathi, how do you develop the program tailored to that individual? And you said that, not every program is 6 months, 5 months. Do you know that beforehand, how long it's going to take?
No.
And how do you tailor it?
So the way I do is I start with the brain skill assessment, and I identify, do they have 1 cognitive skill below the 50th percentile, or do they have 6 cognitive skills below the 50th percentile? That right there starts dictating what the recommendation is going to be. And so if like I've had students who've come in who they had 2 cognitive skills under the 50th percentile, and one was like already just about the 49 or 50th. So I'm like, so that we might recommend a 12-week program for them. For somebody else who comes in, like the 17-year-old who came in, every cognitive skill was below the 50th percentile. Her biggest skill was logic and reasoning at, I think it was like 32. But everything else was below that. So that was a 9-month program. that we recommended to the family. And the woman who just had the stroke, that was actually a 22-month program that we recommended to get her back on where she really needed to be. Although, like I said, she started talking in full sentences in 3 months, which the family was blown away with. So when we talk about how do we customize it to each individual, I look at, okay, which cognitive skills are below the 50th percentile. And let's say, it's auditory processing, it's logic and reasoning, it's attention, it's processing speed. I go and look at what exercises are going to target those specific skills. Because each exercise targets 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 skills at the same time, the strong skills typically get stronger, and then the weaker skills are our focus and our goal. And so we have different levels that we have over 1,000 different exercises, and nobody gets through all 1,000. I mean, even the 9-month student didn't get through all 1,000 exercises. So what we do is we look at this specific exercise will exercise these cognitive skills. 3 of those land under the 50th percentile. So that individual, we have a ribbon level, a bronze, a silver, a gold. So we make sure they hit the gold level on those areas of the brain that are weaker. And we will drill it and drill it and drill it. And sometimes they get it on the first try, not usually. But they, so sometimes it takes 3 or 4 attempts, and we may be doing it over and over and over and over. And if you mess up, you get to start over again. But we really, we are like drill sergeants a little bit. So I do it again, do it again, do it again. And so, but when they actually are able to hit that silver level or that gold level, and it's like, I did it, I did it, all of a sudden it's, it's like something they had struggled with. There's this breakthrough, and that's what releases the endorphins and the dopamine and the feel good stuff. And I want to keep doing it, and I want to keep doing it. Yeah. And then you just see them tackle it even harder. And in the beginning, I think we can get through about 4 to 6 exercises in an hour of training. By the time someone is closer to the end of their program, we typically can get through about 10 to 14 exercises in an hour. So if you think about every exercise is exercising 3 to 7 or 8 cognitive skills, we're doing a lot of work. In the beginning, people are exhausted. We always tell people the first week to 2 weeks, you're going to feel more tired, or you're going to feel like brain fatigue. It's no different. Again, if you haven't been in a gym in 5 years and you go in a gym, you wake up the next morning going, wow, what did I do? Right? Because you're sore. And so this doesn't really create headaches. It doesn't make you sore. But you just are a little more tired. So we encourage get a little bit more sleep, eat a little more protein, get a little more hydration in. And then you're sort of conditioned to it, and you don't really feel that. I mean, you could speak to that, but you really, now you're like, okay, now I'm ready to hit the next level. Now I'm ready to hit the next level. So we look at the different programs we offer. We look at all the exercises. We look what cognitive skills are doing. And then we start highlighting and fine tuning, like, because of this person, we know we're going to focus on these, and they have to hit all 10 levels, or they have to hit all 12 levels. And we want them to hit up to the gold level on each one, because those are the areas that are weaker. And so that's why we dive in and we really focus and target on those weaker skills.
Yeah, how was that brain fatigue?
It's real.
I could see you're like going back to that space.
Like,
you were like,
I forgot
I
about
remember that.
First week. It was, I would say 2 weeks-ish. Yeah. But then you're right, you start doing that breakthrough, and it's exciting, and you're like, okay, because again, at first you're like, what am I doing?
And how long did it really take to kind of really start seeing some improvement in your daily life?
I would say 4 or 6 weeks.
About 4 to 6 weeks. Gotcha.
And again, we were doing the hybrid. So someone who's going 3 times a week in with the trainer could probably go quicker than what we did. But
sometimes it depends.
Yeah,
it depends on the student where they're starting. We will tell families around the 6 to 8 week mark. You're not going to notice these huge changes. Maybe what you'll notice is you only had to tell them once to do something instead of 3 times, or you're talking to your significant other and they got the message the first time, they didn't say what to you. So you start noticing these little changes, or like Maddie last week, she's like, I sat through an entire meeting and didn't check out. You know? So they start recognizing little small changes, and that's what we want. Because when they start seeing the small changes, all of a sudden that starts building on each other, and they start seeing the bigger changes.
Right. Yeah. With the different programs, I know you did more of a hybrid. Yep. Do you have all full in the studio with you? Do you have all remote? What are the different options that people can explore?
We have a lot. So we have where you can do all the training in the center.
Okay.
And if you do all the training in the center, it's 3 times a week minimum, an hour and a half each time. Okay. So it's 4.5 hours a week that, and I actually think people have more challenges with their schedule than they do their budget with this program. Yeah. But to help people fit it into their budget, we offer other programs where, we can do hybrid, where we actually have students who've trained all virtually. We actually had a student from Watkins. And there's no way the family's going to drive from Watkins to Highlands Ranch 3 times a week. So his whole training was done remotely. We have another gentleman who is 77 years old. He actually he lived in Aurora. He also didn't want to drive to Highlands Ranch 3 times a week. So we did his training 100% remotely too. So, and we get just as valid results doing it remotely as we do face-to-face. To fit it into budget, we sometimes have families get involved, and someone in the family does part of the training, and we do part of the training, and it just lowers the cost so that we can then fit it in the budget. I have had families who say, yeah, we're not doing this at home because he doesn't listen to me anyway. I don't want to now be the trainer, because we do tell parents, and we're like, in this 60 minutes, you have to be a trainer. You can't say, why didn't you take out the trash? You can't say, why didn't you do this for me? You got to focus. And for some people, it works really well. And for some people, it doesn't. I've had stay-at-home dads be the trainer. So dads are great at training. I have one family who the teenage boy was just on a competition roll with his dad. He would tell me, when I would train him, he'd go, oh yeah, just so you know, I beat my dad at this. I go, oh, did you? How did he feel about that? So we've had some really great parents who are trainers. Homeschool moms make great trainers. And so we really look at each individual situation and what is and what is not going to work at the home and here. And so families make that decision based on what they believe will work and also what will fit into their budget. Yeah.
When you're doing kind of the more hybrid and virtual options, is this where, if you were my trainer, would I see you online via Zoom or, okay. Do you have physical material then with you? And do you also have things on the computer that you can be, okay.
Yeah, all of those. Right. All of the above.
Yes. You have every option available. Yes. No excuses, people.
Yeah, so we do. And I've trained as early as 7 in the morning. Before somebody went to work. We had a gentleman who we tried training after he got off work, and it didn't work. He couldn't stay. He was tired. He was his day was always busy. So we would train at 7 o'clock in the morning before he went to work. I did a hybrid with him where some of his training was face-to-face and some of his training was virtual, and that's what fit in for him. I've done training as late as 7 p.m. I've done training on Saturdays. I've done training on Sundays. So we really do work hard to fit it into people's schedules.
Oh, that's amazing. You have every option under the sun. It's so funny when you mention sometimes the parent won't be great. Yeah. That is me. Yeah. I tried homeschooling through the COVID world. I lasted 1 week. And I was like, nope.
I don't think I could have done
gonna happen.
Homeschooling either.
No. I've been a coach once. We'll never do it again. And I will not teach him skiing.
But now you know that about yourself, right?
Someone else, because he listens, and that,
you're exactly right.
Might be across the board, but at least my kid is that way. So, no, this is amazing. And you have, of course, how many people are working with you at LearningRx in Highlands Ranch?
Oh, my goodness. Let's see, there's, I probably have 5 trainers besides myself. Doug doesn't train. He actually does behind the scenes. He does invoicing for me and payroll for me, which I'm very thankful for. And Doug and I were actually talking today because we've had so many people say, hey, let me get through the holidays. Yeah. Just let me get through the holidays. They maybe did their brain skill assessment in November or December. Just let me get through the holidays. We'll be ready to go in January, or let me get through the holidays and we'll do the assessment in January. But right now, we probably have 22 or 23 people who are ready to start at some point between January, February into March, just depending on their schedules. So we actually talked about hiring a part. So if anyone's listening and would like a part-time brain training job, please contact me at LearningRx. That's great. So we really try to fit students with personalities with trainers. So not every trainer is going to be a good match for a student. My daughter was actually one of our trainers, and I was training a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old, and the mom was friends, and my daughter was training the other family, a 9-year-old and 7-year-old. And the moms got to talking, and the mom for me asked if my daughter could train. They go, well, they really like her. And I go, oh, okay. And so she went in and trained a couple of times. They go, well, can we switch to her? And I thought, oh. I go, okay. And so my daughter thought it was hilarious. She's like, how does that feel to be bumped? And I'm like, I'm not sure, because it allows me free time to now get other stuff done as a business owner.
Time.
Right. I'm like, but yeah,
that's when you say, I did right, didn't I? I did a good job on you.
Right. I raised you well.
Exactly.
You're right. I should have said that.
Trainer,
yeah.
right?
So we do. It's very rare that we get a match that doesn't work. But if it does, we want that student to be successful. So absolutely, we're going to shift to another trainer. Been in, almost 3 years of being open. I've done that twice on a request. Most times we get it right the first time.
Okay. And I'm curious what training the trainers go through.
They go through quite a bit, actually.
Yeah.
They have to do some online training. I couldn't even tell you how many hours that is. It's probably close to 30 or 40 hours of online training they do. And then they come into the center, and then they do training with either Cassidy or myself. So we watch their technique. We demonstrate it for them, and then they watch our technique, and then they train us. Then they have to sit in on actual live training, whether that's virtual training or in-person training. They sit in on a week to 2 weeks of that. And then we sit in with them while they start doing their training. We sit in with them to make sure they feel comfortable. They probably feel more comfortable if we're not watching, but we want to make sure they feel comfortable. They understand the directions. They understand if they get stuck somewhere. And at any time, if there's a question, they can text Cassidy or I, and like, I'm having a hard time. I can't seem to get them over this hurdle, or I can't get them past this level. Like, what would you suggest? And so then we start strategically looking at it for that individual to say, okay, have you tried this? Have you tried this? Yeah. So they actually go through quite a bit, and then they're evaluated on an ongoing basis. We sit in periodically to make sure they're following everything they should, because we want students to be successful. We want them to walk away really having gotten some really great results.
Nice.
I'm curious, Lindsay, since you went through the program and everything, say somebody's kind of listening in and just like, oh, that it sounds kind of cool, but they just haven't pulled the trigger yet. I mean, what would you say through your experience? Why should somebody take this course?
Just do it. Just do the assessment, right? Just to kind of see what it's about, because it's really interesting. Because again, it's not your typical learning. It's not how smart you are. It's how you retain and how you see things and retain it all. And that it's super interesting, because you think that you're so smart, and really when you go into this program, you're like, maybe I'm not. But it has nothing to do with the smarts. Again, I highly recommend doing the assessment and just going from there. It's not scary. It's pretty wild. You're like, feel like you're in 5th grade again, but not. And when you start going through the program, you're like, well, if they would have taught it that way to me, I would really have retained this a lot better, And why don't they do this assessment in schools? Honestly, just to see where each kid is. Not that you could tailor to each one, right, individually, but you would know these guys have really struggled with auditory processing. So with them. And I think it would
approach.
It would be.
I say the same thing. I mean, start with a brain skill assessment. The brain skill assessment is not committing to a full-blown program. Even somebody who commits to a program, you're not committed financially to 6 months. If it's not working for you after 4 weeks, you're paying for the training that you've already taken. And so the brain skills assessment is a really small investment to get a lot of really great information about how your brain just processes information.
And you both have said that, I mean, especially when you start out, it's hard on the brain, the brain fatigue. And I'm sure, Lindsay, the more you move on, the more excited you are because it's working. And then once you are done with the program, I mean, do you still do activities that keep that brain going every day, and you enjoy it?
I do enjoy it. And we do a lot of like the word Scrabble games, on the phone, just at late night, just trying to
stealing the jack, and doing the alphabet game, which is
Because you get to like F, and then I'm like, what did he say? Now I'm like, to Z, back to A, like, yeah.
Well, and at the time of graduation, we give a lot of recommendations. We'll say, in order to keep your brain skills strong, because you've invested this money, you know, in order to keep them strong, here are the things we would encourage you to continue doing on a regular basis so that you keep your brain's very well oiled, you know, it's keeping it strong. So a lot of, you know, people are going to, you know, but we really try to set people up for success at the time of graduation so that when they come in a year down the road, that really has continued to maintain or even improve the cognitive strength even more.
Yeah. Lindsay, I had one more question for you.
Sure.
What was the
Myself.
Oh, that's a good answer.
Honestly, in my own way, but not really knowing I was in my own way, I guess. Again, that's why the assessment was, I was like, what do I have to lose after her presentation? And again, it was Mother's Day. I remember Doug said, do we need to bring a full armor because you're giving this to your mom for Mother's Day? I'm like, oh, she'll understand, trust me. And she loved it. She didn't go through with it yet. But
she did the brain skill assessment.
She did do that.
She got a lot of information. We actually said, how are you going to present this to your mom? We're very concerned. Yeah. Interesting to see 3 generations and to be able to compare brain skills to 3 generations in the same family and look at it. And too, I mean, there's people who come into the program that I've said, I don't really think you need us.
I was going to say,
you know, the skills are really super strong. I don't really think you need us, but here's some recommendations I would give to you to be doing so that you can maintain the strength you currently have. Yeah. So not everybody who comes to us is struggling either. I mean, we have people who come because they want a better ACT or SAT score, or they want a better scholarship to get into a better college. Yeah. We recently, about a year ago, we had a student who wanted to pass the LSAT on the first try. So he actually did I think it was a 16-week program in like 10 weeks. Like he just drilled through it. And he passed the LSAT on his first try and was super thrilled, as was Mom and Dad, you know, super thrilled at what he accomplished, you know. So the program's not just for people who are struggling. It's like people like Lindsay who want to be proactive because they know they've had something in their family. So it's also for people who want to be proactive.
Nice. Absolutely.
Yeah. I love this thing, actually.
I do too. I need to get my kiddo in there just to see, because I'm so curious how he's receiving information. Yeah. I'm like, how can you retain so much over here? And what happens over here? Right. And we all do it too. I mean, and I'm curious how my brain works, how I can retain things and not, and what the auditory is. And, you know, I've had a few knocks on the head through my life as well. Lindsay, I love that you said these are my words. I have to get out of my own way. And I literally talked about that with women today. It's like, get out of your own way. And I find like a lot of us, again, I'm going to use myself as an example, struggle for a long time, just thinking it will magically get better. And it usually gets worse and worse and worse. And then you go, well, now I really have to do something. Yeah. So I'm so proud of you for being proactive. Thank you. Being like, I know that this is just somewhere in my genes. Why not get ahead of it? Exactly. And who doesn't want a faster brain, you know, that is working in so many different aspects? It helps relationships. It helps business. Can help your bottom line. Like, who on earth wouldn't want this type of stuff?
Exactly. So that's exactly it.
All of those.
When companies as a whole, let's just look at a company, and they want their employees to be more productive, they can pour a lot of money. They poured money into, let's have citrus air freshener because it makes you more energized. I mean, there's so many different things that I've seen companies do and spend money on for people to be like ergonomically correct chairs and desks, and let's let the desk go up and down. And, you know, because companies lose so much money on productivity. And so they look for ways. I'm telling a company, this is one of the best ways that you will have so much better productivity with your employees. At probably a fraction of the cost of what you pour into trying to get your employees to be more productive.
And they'll be happier because thinking better creates happiness. And
that's exactly
good cognition.
Look at that.
Exactly.
Right. Lindsay, was there anything else that you wanted to mention going through the process? And
Like I said, just do it. Just do the assessment. That's my biggest advice, because from there it just tells you everything you need to know that you don't know. It all makes sense after you do that assessment. That's why I don't understand. And it doesn't compute, or, seriously, or I'm a visual learner. Now I understand why, because I don't hear shit.
It's a roadmap to your brain completely. You don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
And the interesting conversation I usually have with parents, I remember one specifically where the child, 14-year-old child, his auditory processing was low, auditory memory was low, short-term memory was low. And I said, so if you ask her to, empty the trash and feed the dog and put the laundry in the dryer, the only thing she heard was take out the trash. She never heard the other two things. So while you think, oh, she's 14, she's a teenager, she's being defiant, she's being lazy, that's not exactly what's happening in your house. What's happening is the brain actually doesn't receive the information, it doesn't process it, it doesn't retain it and remember it, so she can't follow through. So and this one father, I remember, he was like, we get into so many arguments because she's like, you never said that, and he's like, yes I did, and they get into this battle and they're both right. Like, she never heard it and he said it, and but once they understand this is the reason behind it, it's like, and here's what we can do about it, all of a sudden it's completely different in the household, because now there's a better understanding.
So there's no selective hearing.
I was like, why didn't I have this with Caleb back then? Life would have been so different.
Well, it's so true, right? And it's how to, these are my words again, to better parent.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm thinking my kiddo is understanding what I'm saying, and really he has no, he has a very different brain than I do.
Yep.
Completely different. And so it doesn't compute, right? He has an engineering brain. I don't at all. He's talking about how to go build something, and I'm like, great, honey, go take out the trash, or go take a shower, and so it's, it can help in every aspect.
It really can. I mean, I'll use my daughter again as an example, that she struggled in school, and we paid for tutoring for 3 years. And once we had LearningRx and we did a brain skill assessment on her, her auditory processing and her auditory memory were very low, but her visual processing and her visual memory were very high. So had I known that, I would have gone to teachers and said, I'm happy to print this out for her so she can read it and understand it. Because I now, if I need something from her, I will text her. I have much higher success if I text her, because she can read it and understand it. And even when she went to work at this new job, she told her supervisor, do not tell me what you want me to do. You'll tell me 10 times and I won't get it. But if you show it to me, I'll get it on the first try. And she has excelled in her own employment and gotten promotions in short amount of time, because she's a very productive employee, but she knows how to play to her strengths, and we manage her weaknesses through the program. And she just became a completely different person at 19 years old, which I wish I would have known at 13 or 14 or 15 for her.
Completely, yeah.
She hated school.
Not only school, but to the workplace, as we mentioned earlier, instead of doing culture indexes. Not to say these are bad, they're great tools, and Enneagrams and all this different stuff. But if they do this, then, because everyone is learning and receiving the information differently.
Well, and if a company knew that about its employees, I mean, if teachers knew that about their students, they could understand, Johnny's not going to get this if I'm just saying it, so we just have to have a different approach, because they have 25 kids. God bless teachers, because they have 25 kids in their classroom, and they have to, teach to a varied audience. But the same goes for employers. If you're spending all this money on personality tests to understand how your employee fits personality-wise, spend some money on doing a brain skill assessment and understand how the brain is processing information, and then you can play to their strengths, and you will have a much more productive team, just because you know what they're strong at and what they're not.
Right. Completely.
You understand it.
I do. This is amazing.
Team brain assessment.
Well, you heard it right there, everybody. For everybody listening on our radio, Kathi Miracle, owner of LearningRx Highlands Ranch, and Lindsay Cassell, former client. Check it out. It's absolutely amazing. I know I'm going to do the assessment. I'm kind of scared to find out how I'm awful. But there's always...
You haven't retained the information we just went over the last hour. No, we all have skill sets. It's how we process information.
That's right. Exactly.
Exactly.
And the number one thing, just take the assessment.
Do it.
That's the easiest thing. Just do it. Find out. And if, you don't want to proceed, you don't want to proceed, but see where you can improve.
Yeah.
So, and it'll just make your life so much better. All ages. So, thank you very much for coming in. It's been such a pleasure.
Thanks for having
of
us.
course.
This is fun.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
definitely.
Yeah, well, I love it.
We love having you. Thank you very much for tuning in. Do know that this interview is going to be on our social media platforms for at least a month. So if you caught kind of the end of it, you can go back, listen to the whole thing, reach out to LearningRx, www.learningrx.com/Highlands-Ranch. Speaking with Kathi Miracle. So thanks again. And everybody, thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned. Every single day from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. we have one solid hour of only Colorado musicians on our rotation. The rest of the time, they make up 1/3 of our rotation. And then, of course, tonight we have a repeat of Kind of Vague Radio, hosted by Andrew Talent and Rob Dixon. Thanks again, guys.
Thank
have
you.
a good one. Everybody have a great evening, and you'll see you soon.